How many Lego heads to weigh as much as a golden retriever? Stick around, because this one's cute, crunchy, and ridiculously specific. You're petting a golden retriever, fluffy, loyal, and roughly the size of your average friendly rug. And suddenly, like any dog-loving math maniac would ask, how many Lego heads would it take to match this good boy's weight? Let's fetch the numbers. A fully grown male golden retriever weighs around 32 kilograms. That's 70 pounds of pure sunshine and snack begging. Now a single Lego head? That shiny yellow noggin weighs in at about 0.5 grams. A tiny piece of hollow ABS plastic, roughly the weight of a paperclip sneezing. Convert that to kilograms, and you get 0.0005 kilograms per head. So, to match the weight of one dog, 64,000 Lego heads. That's right, 64,000 tiny smiling skulls and a pile the weight of a living, tail-wagging legend. You'd need a mountain of minifig minds just to balance the scale. And while one can fetch a brick, only the golden retriever will bring it back slobbery and proud. So, there you have it. 64,000 Lego heads to equal one very good boy. How many cat hairballs would it take to weigh as much as the Taj Mahal? Stick around for the mind-blowing answer. Alright, picture this. You're sweeping up after your cat and notice a fresh hairball on the floor. Then a completely ridiculous thought hits you. What if I had enough cat hairballs to match the weight of an actual world wonder? How many would it take to equal the Taj Mahal? Let's break this down, one gross little hairball at a time. The Taj Mahal is massive. It weighs about 87,000 US tons, or roughly 174 million pounds of pure marble. That's an absurd amount of weight, but how does that compare to a cat hairball? A single cat hairball weighs about 10 grams, or 0.022 pounds, meaning it's about as heavy as a small spoonful of sugar. Now for the math. If we divide 174 million pounds by 0.022 pounds per hairball, we get the final answer, 7.89 billion hairballs. That's right, you'd need nearly 8 billion cat hairballs just to match the weight of the Taj Mahal. For perspective, there are currently about 600 million pet cats in the world. So if every single cat coughed up just 13 hairballs, we'd have enough to match one of the most famous landmarks in human history. But let's be real, if 8 billion hairballs were just lying around in one place, we'd probably have a much bigger problem than math. So unless you've got millions of cats on standby, a giant hairball storage unit, and no concern for hygiene, this is one world wonder that's not getting replaced anytime soon. But hey, at least now you have a fun fact to drop the next time your cat leaves you a gift on the carpet. How many puppy tails wagging would it take to generate the same energy as a wind turbine? Imagine this. You're at a park surrounded by happy puppies wagging their tails, and suddenly you wonder, what if we could harness all this tail-wagging energy? Could it rival a wind turbine? A totally normal thought, right? Let's calculate this adorable power source. First, let's start with the wind turbine. A typical modern wind turbine can generate about 2 megawatts of power per hour. That's enough energy to power over 400 homes for the same amount of time. Talk about a breeze. Now let's look at a puppy's tail. On average, a puppy wags its tail around 5 times per second. That's 300 wags per minute, or about 18,000 wags per hour. With all that movement, a single tail produces around 0.1 watts of energy per hour, which is the energy equivalent of a single LED light bulb barely flickering. Here's where the math gets fun. To match the 2 megawatts of a wind turbine, we'd need to divide 2 megawatts, 2 million watts, by the 0.1 watts generated by a single puppy tail. And the answer is 20 million puppy tails wagging simultaneously. Yes, you need an army of 20 million puppies wagging their tails at full speed to generate the same energy as one wind turbine. That's enough puppies to fill hundreds of dog parks, or create the most joyful power plant in history. But wait, let's put this into perspective. Imagine the logistics. Feeding, housing, and managing 20 million puppies would likely consume more resources than the energy they generate. Not to mention, the world would be overrun with belly rubs and treat breaks. So, there you have it. 20 million wagging puppy tails to match the power of a single wind turbine. How many puppies would fit inside a typical family car? Imagine this. You're heading out for a drive, and instead of passengers, you're filling your car with something far cuter. Puppies. Naturally, the question arises, how many puppies would fit inside a typical family car? Let's park our curiosity here and calculate the answer. First, let's size up the car. A typical family car, like a sedan, has an interior volume of about 100 cubic feet. That includes the seating area and the trunk, assuming you've cleared it out to make room for all those wagging tails. Next, let's talk puppies. The average puppy is around 12 inches long, 6 inches wide, and 8 inches tall, which gives them a total volume of 576 cubic inches. To keep things consistent, let's convert that to cubic feet, since there are 1,728 cubic inches in a cubic foot. A puppy takes up about 0.33 cubic feet of space. Now let's crunch the numbers. To figure out how many puppies would fit, we divide the total interior volume of the car, 100 cubic feet, by the volume of a single puppy, which is 0.33 cubic feet. The result? 303 puppies. That's right. A family car could theoretically hold 303 puppies if they were snuggled together like a living, wagging jigsaw puzzle. But let's consider practicality. Puppies need space to move and breathe, so we can't pack them wall to wall like sardines. If we give each puppy a little extra room, say 0.5 cubic feet, the number drops to about 200 puppies. Still, that's a lot of cuteness for one car ride. Now let's visualize this. Imagine opening the doors to a car packed with 200 fluffy puppies. It would be a scene of pure joy and chaos. Puppy tails wagging, paws everywhere, and non-stop barking. Forget carpooling, this is puppy pooling. But let's not forget the logistics. Feeding, transporting, and cleaning up after 200 puppies would require some serious dedication, and probably a lot of lint rollers. So there you have it. A typical family car could fit 303 tightly packed puppies, but a more comfortable ride would mean about 200 puppies. How many kittens would it take to match the weight of a lion? Imagine this. You're playing with a bundle of kittens, and suddenly your mind drifts to the king of the jungle. You look at those tiny fur balls and wonder, how many of these adorable little creatures would it take to equal the weight of a lion? A perfectly normal thought, right? Well, let's get to the bottom of this feline mystery. First, let's look at our mighty lion. According to reputable sources, by which I mean the internet, a fully grown male lion weighs around 420 pounds. That's about the weight of 100 bowling balls, or all the snacks I've eaten since last weekend. Now let's compare that to your average kitten. A 6-month-old kitten, a good middle ground age for this calculation, weighs about 6 pounds. Tiny but mighty in cuteness. Here comes the fun part, doing the math. To figure out how many kittens would equal the lion's weight, we divide 420 pounds, the lion's weight, by 6 pounds, the weight of a single kitten. When we do this, the answer is 70 kittens. That's right, you'd need 70 kittens to match the weight of one lion. Now imagine this, a pride of 70 kittens sitting together, purring and plotting their adorable takeover of the Serengeti. Forget roaring. This group would be meowing their way into the jungle hierarchy. But wait, what if these weren't 6-month-old kittens? Let's go smaller. A newborn kitten weighs only about 0.2 pounds. To calculate, we divide the lion's weight of 420 pounds by the 0.2 pound weight of a newborn kitten. And the answer? Over 2,000 kittens. Yes, 2,100 newborn kittens to be exact. That's a mountain of fluff that could rival even the most majestic mane. So, whether it's 70 adolescent kittens or 2,100 newborns, one lion is a whole lot of feline. Just think, if these kittens teamed up, they might not have the lion's roar, but they'd definitely win in sheer adorableness. And there you have it, 70 kittens to match the weight of a lion, or over 2,000 newborns if you're feeling ambitious. How many kitten purrs would match the volume of a car engine? Picture this, you're sitting in your car, and the engine hums softly as you idle at a red light. Suddenly, you think of your adorable kitten purring at home and wonder, how many of those tiny purrs would it take to match the volume of this engine? Let's rev up our curiosity and purr our way to the answer. First, let's break down the sound of a car engine. A typical car engine running at idle produces about 50 decibels of sound. For reference, that's roughly the same noise level as a quiet conversation or light rainfall. Now, let's talk kittens. The average kitten purrs at a sound level of about 25 decibels. But sound doesn't add up the same way numbers do. Doubling the number of kittens doesn't simply double the decibel level. Instead, sound follows a logarithmic scale, where every 10 decibel increase means the sound is 10 times louder. To match a 50 decibel car engine with 25 decibel kitten purrs, we need to calculate how many kittens are required to produce the equivalent volume. For every 10 decibel increase, the number of kittens needs to multiply by 10. So, to go from 25 decibels to 35 decibels, we need 10 kittens. To go from 35 to 45 decibels, we need 100 kittens. Finally, to reach 50 decibels, we'd need 1,000 kittens purring together. That's right, it would take 1,000 kittens purring simultaneously to match the sound volume of a car engine. Just imagine the adorable sight and soothing sound of 1,000 fluffy kittens purring in harmony. But let's put this into perspective. A car engine idles constantly and consistently, But kittens don't purr on command. To gather and maintain 1,000 purring kittens would require some serious cat whispering skills, not to mention a lot of catnip. And then there's the logistics. Housing and feeding 1,000 kittens would take an enormous amount of space and resources. Plus, the sound may be adorable, but it wouldn't power your car, just your heart. So, there you have it. 1,000 kittens purring together to match the sound volume of a car engine. How many hot dogs would it take to match the weight of a wiener dog? Stick around to the end to find out. So, you're at your summer barbecue, grilling up some juicy hot dogs, and your actual wiener dog is staring at you like you've betrayed the Dachshund code. Naturally, you wonder, how many of these hot dogs would it take to equal the weight of my loyal sausage-shaped sidekick? Totally normal BBQ thoughts, right? Let's start with our wiener dog. The average Dachshund weighs about 16 pounds, give or take depending on how many snacks they've stolen off your plate. Meanwhile, the average hot dog weighs about 1.6 ounces. Time for some math magic. First, we convert 16 pounds to ounces. Since there are 16 ounces in a pound, that gives us 256 ounces. Then we divide that by the weight of one hot dog, 1.6 ounces, and bam! The answer is 160 hot dogs. That's right, it would take 160 hot dogs to match the weight of one full-grown wiener dog. So next time you're at the store buying hot dogs, just remember, if you've got 160 in your cart, you're basically carrying the equivalent of a dachshund. Follow and subscribe for more ridiculous equivalencies. How many chihuahuas would it take to pull a truck like a sled? Stick around for the mind-blowing answer. Alright, picture this. You're watching a team of sled dogs racing across the Arctic, pulling a sled like it's nothing. Then, a completely ridiculous thought hits you. What if, instead of powerful huskies, the sled team was made up entirely of chihuahuas? And what if, instead of a sled, they had to pull an actual truck? Let's break this down, one tiny paw at a time. First, we need to figure out how much weight we're dealing with. A typical pickup truck weighs about 5,000 pounds, which is, well, a lot more than a sled. Now let's talk about Chihuahua power. A healthy dog can pull up to 15% of its own weight, and the average Chihuahua weighs about 4 pounds. That means a single Chihuahua can pull 0.6 pounds at most, which is less than the weight of a bottle of ketchup. Now for the math. If each Chihuahua can pull 0.6 pounds, and we divide 5,000 pounds by 0.6 pounds per Chihuahua, we get 8,334 Chihuahuas. Yes, that's right. Over 8,000 Chihuahuas all harnessed together, working as a team to pull a single pickup truck. But here's where things get even funnier. This assumes the truck is already moving and sliding across ice or snow. If you're trying to get the truck rolling on pavement, you'd need even more Chihuahuas to overcome friction. Realistically, you might need 10,000 plus Chihuahuas just to get the truck to budge. And let's be honest, there is no way 8,000 Chihuahuas would actually cooperate long enough to pull in the same direction. More likely, you'd have complete chaos, a lot of barking, and exactly zero truck movement. So unless you've got thousands of tiny harnesses, an insane amount of patience, and a truck that's magically sled compatible, this is one challenge that's probably not happening. But hey, at least now you've got a fun fact to drop the next time you see a Chihuahua with way too much confidence. Follow for more ridiculous calculations and let me know in the comments. What's the most chaotic thing your dog has ever done? What toys would it take to match the weight of a husky? Stick around to the end for the toy-sized answer. Alright, imagine this. You're unboxing a brand new Happy Meal toy when suddenly, a completely reasonable thought pops into your head. How many of these would it take to match the weight of a full-grown husky? Because why not? Let's crunch the numbers and find out. First, let's talk about the husky. A full-grown Siberian husky typically weighs between 45 and 60 pounds, but for this calculation, we'll go with an average weight of 50 pounds. That's about the same weight as a large bag of dog food or 6 bowling balls. Now, let's talk about Happy Meal toys. While they vary in size and weight, most standard plastic Happy Meal toys weigh around 3 ounces, or 0.1875 pounds. Not exactly heavy, but when you have enough of them, they add up. Now, for the fun part, how many toys do we need? Since a husky weighs 50 pounds and each toy weighs 0.1875 pounds, we divide the two numbers. And the final answer? You'd need 267 Happy Meal toys to match the weight of a single husky. For some perspective, that's enough. Happy Meal toys to fill over 30 McDonald's. Happy Meal boxes cover an entire king-sized bed in tiny plastic figurines. Create the most chaotic toy avalanche ever. And if you actually tried stacking 267 Happy Meal toys to form a husky-sized tower, good luck. Those things would topple over faster than a puppy chasing its tail. So there you have it. 267 Happy Meal toys to equal the weight of a husky. Next time you get a Happy Meal, just imagine needing hundreds of them to match the weight of one fluffy dog. Follow and subscribe for more ridiculously fun comparisons, and in the comments, let me know, what else should we weigh in Happy Meal toys? A bicycle? A shark? Let's get some wild ideas going. How many McDonald's Happy Meal toys would you need to outweigh an adult golden retriever? Picture this. You're sitting on your couch surrounded by piles of Happy Meal toys instead of doing literally anything productive, and a light bulb goes off. You wonder how many of these nostalgic plastic treasures it would take to tip the scales in favor of man's and woman's best friend, the golden retriever. Let's dive into this whimsical quest and find out how many toys we're talking about. First off, the average adult golden retriever weighs around 30 kilograms, or about 66 pounds, perfectly fluffy and ready for belly rubs. Now, the average Happy Meal toy weighs about 50 grams, which is just enough to make you think you should have bought the salad instead. So here comes the fun part. We want to find out how many of these tiny toys it would take to outweigh our furry friend. Doing a quick calculation, you'll need more than 600 Happy Meal toys to lap the mass of a golden retriever. Just imagine trying to store that many toys. Your living room would look like a plastic explosion, and your friends would have serious questions about your life choices. So, in conclusion, you'll need 600 Happy Meal toys to match the weight of an adult golden retriever. Follow and subscribe for more ridiculous equivalencies, and who knows, maybe you'll win a toy we found in the couch cushions. In the comments, someone let me know what would happen if we tried to stack 600 toys on top of an actual dog. How many kitten paw prints would it take to cover an entire basketball court? Stick around to the end for the ultimate perfect answer. Alright, imagine this. You're watching a basketball game, players sprinting across the court when suddenly a thought crosses your mind. What if this entire floor was covered in kitten paw prints? A completely logical and scientific question, of course. Let's do the math and find out just how many tiny paws it would take to cover the whole court. First, let's look at the size of the playing surface. An official NBA basketball court is 94 feet long and 50 feet wide, giving it a total area of 4,700 square feet. That's a lot of space for tiny little paws. Now let's talk about kittens. The average kitten paw print is about 1.5 inches wide and 1.5 inches long, which gives it an area of 2.25 square inches. But since we're working with square feet, we need to convert that. There are 144 square inches in a square foot, so each kitten paw print covers about 1/64th of a square foot. Now for the fun part, how many paw prints would it take to cover the entire court? Since there are 4,700 square feet of surface area, and each paw print covers 1/64th of a square foot, we multiply the two numbers together. The final answer, it would take 300,800 kitten paw prints to fully cover an NBA basketball court. That's enough tiny paw prints to make an entire kitten Olympics, with kittens bouncing, zooming, and pouncing across the floor. And if you actually let that many kittens loose on a basketball court, you'd probably never get a game started. They'd be too busy chasing the ball. So there you have it. 300,800 kitten paw prints to cover the whole court. Next time you watch a basketball game, just imagine what it would look like if every inch was stamped with tiny paws. Follow and subscribe for more wild comparisons. And in the comments, let me know. What else should we cover in kitten paw prints? A football field? A cruise ship? Let's get some positively crazy ideas going. How long would it take for a hamster to run the distance of the entire Great Wall of China? Stick around for the mind-blowing answer. Alright, picture this. You're watching your pet hamster zoom around its little wheel when suddenly a completely ridiculous thought pops into your head. What if this tiny speed machine tried to run the entire length of the Great Wall of China? How long would it take? Let's break this down, one tiny step at a time. The Great Wall of China is 13,171 miles, 21,196 kilometers, long, stretching across mountains, deserts, and valleys. It's one of the longest man-made structures on Earth. But could a hamster actually take it on? Now, let's talk hamster speed. A hamster can run at about 8 miles per hour, which is insanely fast for something so small. If a hamster could run non-stop at full speed, it would finish the entire Great Wall in about 69 days. But here's the thing. Hamsters, like most of us, need breaks. A hamster can only sprint for about 1 hour at a time before needing a 3-hour rest to recover. That means for every 1 hour of running, we have to add 3 hours of break time to the total journey. Now for the math. If we factor in these mandatory hamster naps, the total journey time jumps from 69 days to a whopping 274 days. That's 9 months of running, resting, and repeating before our tiny marathoner reaches the finish line. But let's be real, this assumes the hamster is running on flat ground with no obstacles, and somehow has unlimited snacks along the way. If we consider hills, weather, or the occasional distraction, it might take even longer. So, unless you've got a hamster with Olympic-level endurance, a tiny backpack full of snacks, and an absolutely unreasonable travel plan, this challenge might not be happening anytime soon. But hey, at least now you have a fun fact to drop the next time you watch your hamster sprint in circles. Follow for more ridiculous calculations, and let me know in the comments, what's the longest your pet has ever run in one day?